Monopoly Plus is pretty much the only way to play Monopoly on PC with your friends. Unfortunately, this game was developed by Ubisoft, which means it uses Ubisoft Connect as its social service, which I'm sure you know my opinion on Ubisoft Connect already, since I made a video previously on it. So we'll skip past all that and just go straight into why I think Monopoly Plus is a game that you should not purchase. As I said, Monopoly Plus is the only official way to play Monopoly on PC. The problem is, it's one of the most buggy games I think I've ever played, and I figured we'd start off by listing every single bug I've experienced in my 30 plus hours of game time, starting with the constant crashing and disconnects, which, just to give you an idea of how frequently this occurs, in the entire time I've played Monopoly Plus, I've only made it to the in-game screen 3 times, because almost every time me and my friends play Monopoly, it crashes like an hour into the game, which forces us to just make an assumption on who would have won if the game played out. It's a complete joke. The fact that these issues still exist 5 years after launch just shows how lazy Ubisoft really is when it comes to fixing these crashing issues. These crashing issues aren't exclusive to Monopoly Plus either. Uno, which is also developed by Ubisoft, has these issues just to a lesser degree. And the worst part is that the crashes aren't consistent. They happen at what seems like random. So it's not like you can avoid the crashes by avoiding a specific part of the game. They are just inevitable, it seems like. However, I have noticed if you play the classic board, it seems to crash significantly less. Maybe that's due to better stability or something along those lines on the classic board, and maybe just the living boards not optimized well. I honestly have no idea. But it doesn't just stop at crashing. There is a ton of game-breaking bugs that can end up holding your game hostage. For example, one time my friend bankrupted on my property and mortgaged every property he had and gave the money to someone else in the game, which forced me to pay the mortgages with my own money. And since I couldn't afford to pay the mortgages, instead of the properties going to auction like a normal game, it just held my game hostage and I literally couldn't do anything, which eventually caused me to get taken over by a bot, and then the bot proceeded to bankrupt. And there are a lot of situations like this. Another one is when you are trying to build houses while a player is leaving the game. Sometimes your game will just freeze and eventually you'll get kicked for being AFK. Also, the AI in this game is some of the dumbest AI I think I've ever seen. If you trade it a mortgage property, it will just unmortgage it no matter what. So you can trade an AI a mortgage property and then buy it back infinitely, back and forth, and it'll just keep unmortgaging your property, which will eventually bankrupt it. There's countless more bugs and exploits in this game, but I don't want to make the entire video about just bugs and exploits, so I'll be moving on since I'm pretty sure you get the point now. And to move on from the bugs, I'll now be talking about flaws with the game. The biggest of these flaws being the control scheme, which if you don't have a controller, good luck playing Monopoly Plus. The controller scheme is absolutely terrible for keyboard and mouse, and it's not much better on controller, but at least it's bearable. Where the control scheme becomes a huge issue is when trading. First off, you can't just type in the amount of money you want to trade to someone. You have to increase the number by $1 over and over until eventually you get to the amount you want, which I don't think I need to explain why that's a terrible system and it needs to be fixed. But also, the buttons on keyboard aren't labeled properly and the layout makes no sense. That's why throughout all the gameplay you see, I'm using a controller, because I just couldn't stand the controls on keyboard. And all of my friends who have controllers also use them over keyboard. Another thing that is really irritating to me is there's custom rules in this game that you can put on, like speed die, snake eyes, and free parking. However, you can't put on multiple of these rules at once, and you can't change any rules yourself. There isn't any customization given to the players at all, which is really sad because I think this game could be a lot more fun if you at least got the ability to customize the rule set. The saddest part about this game is all these problems could be fixed if Ubisoft just put in some effort to release an update to fix the bugs. But I guess that's too much to ask at this point, since it's been 5 years after launch and they still haven't fixed any of these issues. But if everything I've spent this entire video talking about didn't exist, like all the bugs, glitches, and exploits, I would actually play Monopoly Plus all the time. However, if you're considering buying this game, I would just recommend getting Tabletop Simulator instead. It has multiple workshop mods that allow you to play Monopoly. Unfortunately, in Tabletop Simulator, you'll still have to calculate all transactions yourself, as if you were playing in person. but at least you'll be able to finish a game and you can make up whatever rules you want. You can do whatever custom rules you want because there's nothing forcing you to play a specific rule set. It is annoying that you have to resort to Tabletop Simulator, but unfortunately that's all we have. And it's not like the game's bad, it's just you have to do a lot more work to get it set up. And also, Tabletop Simulator isn't as easy to play as something like Monopoly Plus because, like I said, you have to calculate any transactions. You have to actually manually grab all your properties, and you have to manually look at the rent and all that. It's not like a traditional game. It's basically like playing a board game, but online. But yeah, please, whatever you do, don't buy this game. It will just be supporting a buggy mess. Instead, buy Tabletop Simulator. At least the money will be going to indie devs that care about their game, and the game actually works in the case of Tabletop Simulator. And anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, you'll probably enjoy the video popping up on your screen right now. If you guys disagree with my review, let me know in the comments down below. I'll be happy to have a discussion with you guys in the comments about Monopoly Plus. And anyways, I hope I'll see you guys in the next one, and peace out.